Drag is a form of gender-bending performance art, mainly for performing and entertainment purposes, right? And drag is also queer gender expression and celebrating Two-Spirit and LGBTQIA plus pride. Drag is not new. Drag was prevalent in ancient Greece and in the Shakespearean era. After the famous 1969 Stonewall riots in New York City, through the early 1990s, gay pride and gay culture were more widely recognized than ever. And so was drag culture. Films like Paris is Burning and The Birdcage helped introduce drag to a brand new audience. Then RuPaul and World of Wonder came in and made it all mainstream. Now, I'm obsessed with Indigenous drag artists like my next guest. Let's welcome Lady Shug. Shug is an Indigenous Two-Spirit queer person. Last week, we celebrated Non-Binary Awareness Week and International Non-Binary Persons Day, and I just had to bring this nationally and internationally known badass Two-Spirit icon to the FayWhat Show. Welcome, Lady Shug.
Hello, relative. How are you?
Oh, how are you, fellow brown person? It is so wonderful to have you on my show. You are a busy, busy girl.
Yes, that's indeed. But I'm very honored and very blessed to travel all over Mother Earth and Turtle Island. It's such an honor and such an honor to be here with you to share space with you.
Thank you so much, lady. So I am a huge, huge, huge fan. My pronouns are her, she, she's, and I want you to explain your pronouns and or if you even use them.
Yeah, so I technically do not use pronouns. I just recently came out as non-binary, but after talking to one of my elders and one of my good friends, as an Indigenous person, I don't really like to use the the binary system, which is basically if you're non-binary, that's on the binary system. So I like to be consider myself a relative. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against anybody of using their pronouns. If that's for you, fabulous. Use it. Use that power. For me, it's like whatever you want to call me that makes you feel comfortable. I know that I'm comfortable with who I am, and I am still a relative, whether you call me a he, a they, a non binary. I'm just Shug. I'm just a relative. I'm just a human, if that makes sense.
No, I love that, and it makes perfect sense. Shug, why don't we have more Indigenous representation like yourself?
Because we've been oppressed for so many years. We still have the government controlling Indigenous people. We were forced onto territories, which is called reservoirs or reservations, if you would. So we were forced into these communities. We're not really highlighted in mainstream media, aka Hollywood. We're not in fashion. We're slowly getting there. So I feel like if there's a lack, especially in the queer community, for Indigenous queer folks, Indigenous Two-Spirit folks, Indigenous trans folks, Indigeneity uh, amazingness. It's just because everybody forgot about us. And that's exactly what the government has been trying to do and still trying to do even to this day.
Yeah, like I was thinking about that the last Christopher Columbus Day. I was like, why in heavens do we still even celebrate this day of this man that basically raped and pillaged and stole land? But we do.
Exactly. Yeah, we celebrate someone's birthday like that, or their birthday, and it should just be a day of just mourning, to be honest, because that was the day that Indigenous folks lost their land, and Indigenous folks like myself are still trying to get that land back. Um, so yeah, I don't know why. I wish they would teach us in our middle school or like in high school the real history. That's including Black history. That's including Latin history. That's including my Asian relative history in our storybooks. Because the U.S., what we call the U.S. Turtle Island, is a melting pot of many races and many cultures, and I feel like it needs to be highlighted. But the first thing that needs to be respected and always remembered is Indigenous folks.
May I also ask you about being two-spirited? I was blessed to be part of the board of Celebrate Orgullo, which is an incredible festival that happens here every year, and it's celebrated for Black, Brown, and Indigenous folks, and we celebrate music, art, culture, history, and it's just such a wonderful, wonderful event and festival that we do every year. And I am embarrassed and a little bit ashamed. I am big on education, but I had never heard of a two-spirit. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Don't feel ashamed because guess what? You're doing the work by actually learning. I said that's the first step. So don't ever feel ashamed. So we
Thank
got to
you.
take that out of your vocabulary. As long as you insert that word, you said learning. If you're learning, you're setting the goals, you are making movement, you're being an ally, you're being a comrade to Indigenous folks or anything regarding any kind of work when it comes to re-educating ourselves. As far as two-spirited folks, that was a term that was developed in the 90s. It is a term. Ooh, oh my God, there was an earthquake. uh, I was. That was sorry about that. Two-spirit is a term that is for Indigenous, queer, trans, gay, lesbian, all the spectrums of Indigenous folks. It is where you embody both the feminine. Oh, sorry. Involve. Oh gosh, I didn't have my coffee this morning. Both
And you just had
embody
an
the
earthquake. So, I mean, put those
right.
two things together.
So I just so excited. So that embody the male and female spectrum. Most tribes have two-spirit leaders, communicators, educators. Basically, two-spirit folks have been here before the whole spectrum of the LGBTQ plus. Um, so for me and my tribe, which is the Navajo Nation, which the preferred name is Diné, for the Diné tribe where I come from, there is a term called Nakle, which is the term two-spirit. So each tribe has different meanings. They have different names for two-spirit folks. Not all Indigenous folks claim two-spirit. Um, and so it's something that you have to be Indigenous first. And secondly, it's something that it's a really honor to be two-spirit because you're able to um, do both spectrums of the roles, if that makes sense. A male's role, a female's role, when it comes to like dancing and when it comes to traditions, when it comes to storytelling, we are the pillars to be able to go back and forth to both sides. So if you were playing, so for example, if you were playing, what was that, Red Rover, where you had to run back and forth? So a two-spirit person would be the only one to go on both sides and not get in trouble.
And not get in trouble. That's key. Let's talk about We Are Here. What an incredible show. And I got to learn a lot about you, and the rest of the world got to learn a lot about Two Spirit. How did that come about?
Yeah. So that
You
came
were on
about.
you were on two seasons, right? Were you on two seasons?
Well, I was on a little cameo on season two, but we'll get to that. So season one, they came here to my territory, which is Farmington, which is a border town to my reservation, which is the Navajo Nation, which is the Neck Nation. And Farmington is a border town. It's very Republican. It's very an oil field town. It's not a fun place to live if you're brown at all, brown or black, and especially if you're queer. So it's difficult growing up here. So they came here, they filmed for like a good 2 weeks. They filmed and had one of the main features, which was my good friend, my little brother. His name is Nate. He is a Diné photographer. And so he kind of included me in his storyline. I was like his little Yoda, if you would, because I was doing drag already. Producers and everything they were kind of pitching to have me as one of the main leads, but because I was already established in my career and kind of was already known to do drag, they kind of wanted folks that never done drag before. And so that's why I wasn't like a main feature, but I don't want to give no spoilers away. If you haven't watched it yet, so I'm on two
Everybody's
episodes of
watched it.
season
We're
one.
all caught up. We want you to come back.
So I was on the Farmington episode, which was episode 4, and I was on the season finale where you really got to see me perform on season 6, and then I did a cameo on season 2 in the Hawaii episode where I went to go be in solidarity with my Hawaiian relatives, just because there's so much indigeneity, and so I already knew Landakia and Hawane, which was on the story, and they're land protectors like myself. So, once a land protector calls you and says, hey, we need you here, you show up. So I showed up for the filming of that, and that was just a fabulous experience. I got to see another part of the islands of Hawaii, and it was so beautiful to see other sacred sites and feel that power of Mother Earth. I believe they're still filming season 3. But yeah, it's a fabulous show. If you have not watched it, uh, I would encourage your young siblings, even your elders, even your friends, to watch it. It's a good way to educate yourself in queer culture, in trans culture, in just the whole spectrum of just being queer. It's a good learning point. It's a lot easier because it's fun and fabulous, but it really speaks the truth. Because a lot of people, when they think of, gay pride, they think of, rainbows and thongs and, just I mean,
Partying,
there's that part.
of
Yeah, there's
course.
that part to it. But we're here brings the wholesome, it brings the stories, the values, the struggles of being a queer person, especially in these small communities. Um,
Yeah, because
but yeah,
we're coming to you from South Florida, and Florida, if you've heard, we've got all kinds of anti-trans bills going our way. We have "Don't Say Gay." Our kids in school can't talk about gay. They can't talk about their gay parents. LGBTQ plus history books have been completely taken off the shelves in libraries. This is the attacks that we're getting, and we're not a small city. We're a very big city, But this is something that occurs, and then we're wondering if the rest of the world notices. We're here shows everyone what's going on in these little towns like yours.
yeah. Uh,
You got to work with Shangela, Eureka, and Bob the drag queen, right? How was it working
yeah,
with them?
fabulous. I'm a big Bob the Drag Queen fan. We've established a friendship over we're here, and him and his team have really molded me to do a lot of traveling. Sometimes I'm a one woman team, so I'm new jumping into traveling as an entertainer. I do drag full time, besides my activism work. So it was a lot, but I'm really thankful for Bob the drag queen because Bob was the mentor for both the daughters on season 1 and season 2 that I knew of. I mean, I know Chandra and Eureka. I didn't really get to get like a personal bond with them, but Bob was amazing. I kind of wish that they filmed me. Nothing against my little brother Nate. If they would have had me, because like just talking about that in Florida. So my tribe, which is the Diné tribe, is a sovereignty nation, which means that we have our own government on our territory. And so our tribal government, there's no protection for queer folks and trans folks. So there's no hate crime laws in place. There's no same-sex marriage laws accepted. You can also get fired if you're gay from the tribal government.
Wow.
So it's so backwards because a lot of folks don't realize that a lot of these tribal governments don't protect or include, the queer folks, the trans folks, the gay folks. So it's really crazy that people
Yeah.
are like getting upset, and I'm like, it's been like this on my res for quite some time, and we don't get the recognition to speak up on it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Like you were saying, you are an established, you were already an established drag queen before you started with We're Here. So has it changed your life any after the seasons aired? Like, has anybody come up to you and been like, we saw you, we loved you before and we saw you and we're here and now we're just obsessed like me?
yes and no. I would say that our for season 1, that's when you got to see me, and it was more of a bigger platform for myself. Um, I was able to touch a lot of more relatives out in the world. I would say I hate to say this because 2020 was horrible because we lost a lot of relatives during that pandemic. But 2020 was amazing because I was able to do a lot of things virtually, internationally, because, we were in a pandemic, so we were doing stuff virtually. So I got to do it a lot during 2020. And that was when We're Here season 1 aired. And it's still kind of been a long journey that I'm still trying to ride as long as possible. But also, I'm so blessed by it because it's given me a voice, a bigger voice to um, tell folks about my activism work, or I would like to say my community activism work, because I don't do this for myself. I don't do this for clout. I do it for my people. And so it's given me the opportunity to help my people in the long run. And so I'm just happy. I'm more on that. I mean, it's fabulous to do shows, don't get me wrong, and it's fabulous to travel, but to see folks reaching out to me, wanting to help my community, wanting to learn how they can become better relatives and how they can become active and do mutual aid work in their communities it's bigger than me, and I'm just thankful for the opportunity.
And you're an incredible conduit. You are really just bringing together these communities that maybe would have never been together beforehand. And that is just a beautiful thing that you're doing. And let's touch on what you just said. What would you say to like other members of LGBTQ plus community that want to support their trans, non-binary, indigenous people? Like how can those of us gays and lesbians who have gained a little more visibility in mainstream culture offer support to those that are not?
Yeah. To that don't include indigenous people. I'm sorry, I didn't quite get the
Also, no,
question.
also indigenous people, please. Yes. How could we support?
So,
How could the G and the L support everybody else in the acronym, including Two
okay,
Spirit
yeah.
individuals?
So I'm trying to learn too, like even to put the two S before LGBTQ plus. Because let's be honest, indigenous folks were here before, but it's something that I would say just learn, like you said, take steps to learn. That's all you need. You don't get it. Don't think it's going to happen overnight. Trust me, I'm a part of this community. I'm still learning every day. I'm learning about pronouns. I'm learning about different gender expressions. I'm learning about different things in our community that our young folks are teaching us. So don't always you feel like you need to be put in this box or you're set in your ways. You need to change. I was always taught by my drag mother, once you stop learning or once you stop getting criticism, you need to hang up your heels, which basically is like for somebody that does drag. So I want to consistently learn. So I challenge all my relatives that are watching that are not, especially indigenous, to or don't have different things to include folks. There's also our unsheltered relatives that are queer that we forget about. We forget our unable bodied relatives that we forget about. We forget about our indigenous folks. I would encourage you to reach out to your community centers, your gay centers, to your pride committees, to even just your house. Get to know somebody that you normally don't have in your spectrum of your friends or your group of friends and invite them because love is love. And I feel like if you do that, the world's going to evolve more. And just building that kin, which in my culture is called kinship, is a strong bond. And I feel like as us as a community, we need to stop criticizing and being so crucial with each other and start lifting each other up. And I think that's a good way to be a good good sister or brother or non-binary or good relative to everybody in the acronyms.
I love your positivity, Lady Shug. Like, I love your positivity. We all have to face haters, you know, at every step of the way in our community. How do you keep the smile? How do you like not say, man, this is just a lot of work? You know, we keep on being marginalized. We keep on being stepped on. Do you get those days where you're just like, you know what, maybe I will hang up my heels. You know, maybe I just can't do this anymore. There's just so much coming my way.
I mean, there's time. I'm not going don't get me wrong. There's times that I feel that way. And I still deal with a lot of mental issues. I've been a suicide survivor twice. Um, Even as an adult, just recently I've had like a really bad breakdown, but I try to immerse myself into work and think about my mutual aid and think about folks that maybe need this. And so sometimes I take it off. So self-care is a good thing. I know I'm saying it now. Sometimes I forget to do that myself.
Yep, yep,
And it's
me too.
okay not to always smile. It's okay to say no to things. It's okay to, break down because all of us are human. I'm so thankful that I moved back to my reservation and I fell back in love with it. Because there's times where I feel like I can't talk to nobody, but guess who I talk to? I talk to Mother Earth. Sometimes when it
Mm.
gets too much, I immerse myself into the water near my house and I just sit there and pray to the water and we have conversations.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, mental health is a real thing.
It's
So
so
I would
important.
say,
Is there a stigma also in the indigenous community? Because I know for Black and Brown, there's a huge stigma. It takes everything for us to say, I need help.
yeah, I think that's the biggest step is to say, I need help. And to reach out to somebody, especially for us as people of color, reach out to somebody that looks like you. They're going to understand, especially for us that are Black, especially our Black, our Latin, and our Indigenous folks or relatives. Um, we were grew up to think that mental health was not a real thing. And I still deal with that myself because I was always taught, nope, you can't. That's not a real thing. But it is. And it's okay to ask for help. There are people that struggle with things. I'm telling you guys now, or telling you all now, that it is. I've had my moments. I know people think I keep it together. You don't have to keep it together every day. Um, but it makes you
You're gonna make me
stronger
cry.
to, no, it makes us stronger to say, hey, I feel broken. Hey, I'm having a bad day. Um, and somebody else, especially us folks that have voices, if we speak up on that, it's going to help other folks say, hey, I can speak up. Or maybe they'll reach out to me or reach out to you and they can speak about it. So don't feel bad. But then also, like, I know a lot of folks, I'll probably get slack for saying this, but like, because a lot, I would say, talk to Mother Earth. Go for a hike. Go for a swim. Um, talk to the Earth. She's Mother Earth.
Take
I
off
know
your
some of
shoes
us
and just
folks.
earth. Take off your
Yeah,
shoes and just
yeah.
like just feel your toes into some dirt and
But
ask
you
your questions.
also, yeah, also not your non-Indigenous folks. Don't neglect that. Remember where you are standing on. Because I don't want anybody to think that, but I'm totally about that. You could do that, but let's please still respect Mother Earth. Ask to be there and permissions, and don't go to sacred sites of Indigenous folks and say, "Oh, I saw Shug on there, and she said I could come over here." No, I didn't say that. I'm just saying find different things to feel better about yourself. You might not need to talk to a person. You can talk to our four-legged animals. You might be able to talk to the tree. You might find something. Your artwork. Put your pain or your struggles or your mental health into your artwork, into drag, into your cooking. There's so many options that I found. And I think that's the only way I've been able to survive is just amplifying that into different things and putting it into Mother Earth, putting it into my drag and my artwork, into my activism work, into my family. But yeah, it's okay to break down. It's okay to have a bad day. If someone tells you they're perfect and they never break down, they're lying to you. They're lying to you. It's not, it never happens. I've never heard anybody say that they're not. We all have issues and it's okay. We all have our own journeys. We all have our own pathways and it's okay to be you.
And we're blessed to have each other. And like you said, hey, girl, if you ever need someone to talk to, you can just call me because I bet we've gone through a lot of the same shit. You just, you're always thinking, you're always trying to like just separate yourself. Oh no, there's no way they know what I'm going through. No, no one can feel like this. And it's so not true. We will always find somebody in our community that has been through those same thoughts. Those dark thoughts are like quicksand, and we'll be in them up to here. We're okay. We don't need any help. And all we have to do is just extend our hand to another person in our community and we'll be okay. Let's talk about those fabulous earrings. Who made those? What? I was like, that's the American flag upside down. I love it.
I also have rings and a necklace, but it's too hot right now. Actually, one of my sisters, they are from Tucson. It's made for a queen. That's made for a queen. I think .com. They do amazing work. So yeah, I wore this in San Francisco during Fourth of the Lies and did an all Indigenous show,
I
and it was
love
so
that.
funny
Fourth
because
of the
you,
Lies. I love that. Oh my God, listen, this 4th of July, I didn't even go out to celebrate. I didn't do a barbecue. I was like, look, I mean, reproductive rights are, like, have just been hatched. LGBTQ is being attacked at every corner. Why would I go celebrate this country? Like, I couldn't even fathom it. So I love that. And how was that event in San Francisco?
it was amazing because I did an all Indigenous show in the Castro, and it was funny because a lot of the queer relatives, were running around with the flag. And I was just sitting here with my land back earrings. And I think one of the relatives, one of the performers had a flag and they had it upside down and it said, or they didn't have it upside down, but they wrote land back on it. And I went right behind the guy that had the big old American flag waving around at the Castro. And I was like, nope, don't forget where you're standing. This is stolen land you're celebrating. This country was built off of blood, off of slavery, off of indigenous folks. It's like, oh, I just don't understand. It's like It's okay. I mean, I understand. We get a holiday. We all love to be off. We all love barbecues. We all love to celebrate and be around kin and family. But let's like not celebrate what, stuff like that, like with Fourth of July, with No Thanks, No Giving, with Columbus Day. Let's celebrate other opportunities, other things.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't really celebrate it. Technically, I work during those so-called holidays, but I do it more on a radical side. But yeah, yeah, these earrings were Lucinda Holiday, made for a queen.
I love them.
I don't know. I don't know if she'll remake them, but maybe.
I love them. They are beautiful. A couple last questions for you, Lady Shug. I know that you're super busy saving the world. Do you watch Drag Race?
Yes, I do. I do. I especially when I start traveling, like being in an airport, especially with these airports now, they cancel flights all of a sudden. Um, it's my only time to catch up on TV or, on anything like that because I don't really have time. I'm either doing my mutual aid or making outfits for my next gig. Um, so yeah, I do watch it, and also I'm just a big stan. That's where I fell in love with Bob, and because I was a fan of Bob the drag queen before I met him and worked with him on We're Here.
He's incredible. I love. He's definitely. I was going to ask you who's your
Question about
favorite.
drag.
So is Bob your favorite?
Oh, yeah, Bob the drag queen's one of my favorite.
Who else?
Um, that's about it.
And me. You're like, yeah, and I,
Yeah.
and me. All right. Are you going to be on any future
Um,
shows, Lady Shug?
yes, I'm actually producing a show in Santa Fe, New Mexico at Site. It's a museum here in Santa Fe. I'm bringing down Londa Lakes and another Indigenous girl. Um, we're just gonna do like a mini all Indigenous cast at this museum in Santa Fe. Santa Fe is like a really tourist and like whitewash where they come and buy our jewelry and our pottery and it's very expensive and so it's interesting that we're going to hold a queer space, but also really needed. And then I'm also working with Illuminatives. I'm actually having a meeting with them after this about an all Indigenous show. I don't know the location. I'll probably know it after this meeting today, but look out on Illuminatives. They're going to bring a whole bunch of Indigenous artists, drag artists, to one location on Turtle Island, and we're going to do an all Indigenous drag show. So I'm excited for those.
I love that. I'm supposed to be
And
going to New Mexico next year, so I'm gonna look you up for sure. I've never been,
yeah,
and there's like a big balloon festival or something like that out there too every year, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Tell me about the Shug Challenge, Lady Shug.
So the show challenge is basically something that I came up after we're here with Bob, where I decided to do a show challenge where I want to call in other relatives all over our social media to help me donate for our unsheltered relatives here. Like I said earlier, I live in a border town um, on my reservation, near my reservation. And so Farmington has a really bad population for unsheltered relatives. And a lot of these shelters profile Indigenous folks, sometimes don't let them in just because of the color of their skin or already kind of have a prejudgment. And so I always hear a lot of times in these border towns, a lot of Indigenous folks freeze, especially during the winter. So I wanted to help, and I was kind of already doing it before We're Here started, but I wasn't doing it as big as I'm doing it now. So I had a lot of folks donate stuff like sleeping bags, like tents and hand warmers and, snacks and female products and um, underwears and so many things that unsheltered folks needed. Um, so I started doing that, and I still do that year round. And the Shook Challenge also evolved during the pandemic, where we assisted some of the Indigenous elders that live on my territory. Because if you guys don't know, the Navajo Nation, the Diné Territory, it covers 3 states, which is New Mexico, Arizona, and Utah. So we're a pretty big territory, and so sometimes we have more churches and hospitals than we have supplies or stuff. Like they would have to come and drive like 2 to 3 hours to get to a hospital, 2 to 3 hours to get to a grocery store. So what we did during the pandemic was we raised funds and we raised money so we can get product to our elders that live way far out deep in the res. my territory still has some of my relatives that live way out there still don't have running water, still don't have electricity, and we're in what 2022, and that's crazy. Also, the Shug Challenge also does a thing called Shug's Babies, which amplifies young uh, teens and young adults that are beginning their journey as trans women, trans men and trans women, and non-binary. So what happens is I go on my social media and I do a call out. I'm actually getting ready to do one soon where I say your parents or aunties or friends say, hey, I have, this teen that's 13 years old that just came out as a trans man. And so what we do with the Shook Challenge is we get them chest binders or like what they're into. If they're into comic books, we get them a whole bunch of comic
Mm.
books. We get them like trans flags and swag. We just basically want to amplify our trans youth and young adults because of what we're seeing still, the injustice of trans folks, especially our trans Black women. Seeing that on TV and seeing it on the internet, I feel like if I was a trans young folk now and seeing that, I would feel really scared for my life.
Yes.
And so what the Shook Challenge does is trying to amplify them and let them know that they have community. So I don't want them to get in depression. I don't want them to feel anxiety. I just want them to live their life because that's the beginning and perfect start of getting to know yourself
Mm.
and the true self. And so that's why I do that for my trans babies, um, just to amplify them instead of like judge them. And I get consent by their parents. I still keep in contact with the last five that I did. One's in college, two just graduated, one's
Oh,
going into middle school, two of them's going to middle school, two graduated, and one's in college right now. So they're
wow.
doing fabulous. So I keep in
Wow.
contact with them. I keep in contact with the families too. So it's just another way to build community
Mm-hmm.
and build kinship and uh, just create mutual aid. And I don't know, I'm an only child and I just feel like I'm very blessed that I've never experienced homelessness. I've never experienced, not being accepted or loved. Um, I've never experienced of going hunger. I was very honored to do that, but so that's why I felt obligated that I needed to use my privilege and my able-bodiedness to help folks that normally are always forgotten about, our elders, our trans youth, and our unsheltered, which were three main things that the Shook Challenge helped with. Because they always get forgotten. You
I
never
love
see
that.
anybody talk about that unless it's during, the times where it's Pride season for our trans babies, or it's no thanks, no giving, and it's like, okay, now we're serving food for our unsheltered. I'm like, you do that once a year, but they
One
live,
day, yeah, one day for the whole
you know,
year. How about the other 364?
yeah,
Lady
even
Shug,
our
you
elders.
you do so much, and you're always so busy. Like I said, I've been trying to get you on my show for a couple of months now. Where do you find time for a intimate relationship?
Oh, geez. Child,
Like who is your boo?
I don't, Shug.
I'm my own boo.
Basically, I'm my own boo. Child, relative. I've been single for a hot minute. That's embarrassing to say. I'm probably in the, what is it called? Double digits now. Oh yeah, I've been in the double digits for quite some time. Um, I don't know. It's difficult. I mean, there are suitors, but normally, I mean, there are suitors that are interested, but I wanna date somebody of color. That was like my highest thing. Nothing against my my white folks, but I feel like I would be against everything I'm about. They'll be like, "Oh my God, why is Shook dating John Smith?" Um, I actually I got auditioned to do a reality show for dating, but I didn't make the last casting for it. But it was so interesting because I'm like, oh my God, that's like one of the biggest questions people ask. No, I'm single. Um, I'm invested too much in mutual aid, and I did try to date somebody, but they were like, why do you keep doing mutual aid? Why do you keep helping them? I was like, well, it's bigger than you. It's bigger than me. If you're not about that, I'm sorry. And it was so bad because like they were in the military, so he didn't really like my stance of indigenous resistance. Um, so he would get mad sometimes when I wouldn't stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, and
Oh,
it's just so
wow.
many things. So it's like I don't know. I think I'm a good person, but I'm just like at the point now. It's like Mama's door is closing, and it'll probably be closed. I'll probably be single for the rest of my life,
Girl,
child.
I don't think so.
But I
Listen,
don't
I
know.
think that
I will say,
once this episode goes out, there's going to be World of Wonder going, "Hey, Bob, you want to host a reality show on getting dates for incredible celebrities?" I know the first one, Lady Shug.
I don't know. I mean, I will say never. Watch this. You'll be interviewing me again. I'll be like, oh, you're invited to my wedding. No, I don't believe it. But um, yeah, I don't know. I just haven't found the one. I just barely found self-love again with my recent breakdown. Um,
Yeah, you
Also,
have to
I just
love
want to,
yourself, right? You have to love yourself unconditionally before you're able to put somebody else into that, you know? I got married a couple of years ago and I had friends that were telling me, yeah, when I wrote my vows, I said my best friend and that he completes me and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's weird because, you know, my future wife was not going to complete me. I was a whole person when I came into the relationship and together we formed a power couple. And that's what I was looking for in the
see,
other person in
I
my
think
life.
that's what I need to get advice from you. I need to just find somebody else where we could just have another power couple. And you know what? I dated. I don't have a type. I've dated all over the spectrum. I've dated another drag artist. I've dated a trans man, a trans woman. I've dated other femme and masculine gay guys. Um, yeah, it's. I just I don't know. I feel like love is love, and so I don't really judge the exterior. I judge more the heart and the the passion of the
Yeah,
person more than
completely. Completely. I'm with you 100%. I love you, Lady
I will
Shug.
say never. Well, I'm going to change that now. I'm just looking for my next for my partner that's going to form the power couple that we can become.
Yes. Hashtag power couple. I love it. Lady Shug, what is your social media so everybody can follow you? We're going to put it on the screen for our folks at home.
Yeah, so it is everything Lady Shug Drag. That's LadyShugDrag.
We love you so much
And
here at the FayWhat
I
Show. I
actually
am
lost.
sending many
Thank you.
blessings to you and to the Dene tribe. Did I say
Yeah,
that right?
you said it right.
And you are in my heart and you
Yes.
are in my thoughts. And when I'm in New Mexico, I'm hanging with you, girl. Just get ready. And
See,
if you're ever
you're
in
already
South
learning.
Florida, come on through.
Okay, I love it.
All right. All
I
right.
love
Thank
it.
you so much for spending time with us here on the FayWhat Show. You are an incredible being. Thank you for just following your calling, being real, being authentic, being vulnerable. Sometimes people that we look up to, we put them on these pedestals and that puts even more pressure on them. You know, we need to know that they're human too and that they go through struggles. And you really just found a part in my heart today. So I thank you so much for that.
Thank you, relative. As I always do my interviews, I always tell people it's not important of who you love. It's important that you know that you're loved and your girl here loves you. And so thank you, relative. Thank you, production. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Lady Shug. Bye-bye, mi amor. So, did you enjoy the show? I know you did. So make sure to click subscribe so you won't miss any of the events, news, or interviews right here on the FayWhat Show. Ring the bell at the bottom of the screen, right there, so you'll be alerted every time we're live. You can also click on the Happening Out Television Network logo so you can see all of the shows on the most diverse LGBTQ plus media network. Find out just what we're doing to bring the L and the G together right here on the FayWhat Show. Get the week started with me.